You look at yourself every single day, in the bathroom mirror, in the black glass of your phone, in the dark reflection of a storefront window. You see your face so often you're bored by it. But for the first 200,000 years of human existence, nobody knew what they looked like. Not once, not ever. And the strange part isn't that they couldn't see themselves. The strange part is what they imagined instead. Think about that for a second. Imagine living your entire life, 30, maybe 40 years if you were lucky, and never once seeing your own face. You would know the face of every person in your band, every crease around your mother's eyes, the scar on your brother's jaw. But your own face? A total stranger's. The only version of you that existed was the one other people described. You were a story told about you by someone else. And that changes everything about how ancient humans understood identity, beauty, and self. The first place to look for answers is the oldest art on Earth. In 2024, archaeologists in Sulawesi, Indonesia, confirmed that a hand stencil pressed onto a limestone cave wall was at least 67,800 years old. A human being, maybe a woman, maybe a teenager, the hand is small, placed their palm flat against cold rock, held a mouthful of red ochre mixed with water, and blew. What remained was a negative image, a silhouette, an outline of the one body part they could actually see without a reflection. And this is where it starts to get haunting. Across 6 continents, separated by tens of thousands of miles and tens of thousands of years, humans did the exact same thing. Hand stencils appear in France, Argentina, Borneo, Australia, Spain. The oldest known form of human self-representation is not a face. It's a hand pressed against stone in the dark, saying something that translates roughly to, "I was here. I existed. I don't know what I look like, but this is proof I am real." There is a detail that most people miss about prehistoric cave art. The animals in those caves, the bison at Lascaux, the lions at Chauvet, the aurochs at Altamira, are painted with staggering anatomical precision. Muscles ripple, nostrils flare. A 2012 study by Gabor Horvath at Eötvös University in Budapest found that Paleolithic artists depicted the gait of 4-legged animals more accurately than modern artists do. These were people who watched animals the way you watch screens, for hours, every day, because their survival depended on it. They knew what a horse looked like mid-gallop better than most veterinarians alive right now. But when those same artists painted humans, stick figures, crude, faceless, almost comical silhouettes shoved to the margins of the composition. The French paleoarchaeologist Jean Clot put it simply. In the Paleolithic world, humans were not at the center of the stage. They could render a bison with the precision of a photograph. They drew themselves like a child's doodle. Not because they lacked the skill, because that is how they saw themselves. Small, peripheral, meat that could think. But there's another layer to this, and it might be the strangest part of all. In 1996, an art historian at Central Missouri State University named Leroy McDermott published a paper in Current Anthropology that reframed one of archaeology's most famous puzzles. For over a century, researchers had been finding small carved figurines of women scattered across Europe and Eurasia, from France to Siberia, dating from roughly 40,000 to 20,000 years ago. They called them Venus figurines. These statues have enormous breasts, wide hips, swollen bellies, and almost no facial features. For decades, male archaeologists assumed they were fertility symbols, or prehistoric pornography, or goddess icons. McDermott proposed something no one had considered. He said they were self-portraits. Not self-portraits the way we think of them, not gazing into a mirror. Self-portraits made by women looking down at their own bodies. He took photographs simulating what a woman standing upright would see if she looked down at herself without a mirror. The proportions match the figurines almost exactly. Breasts appear enormous because they are close to the eyes. Feet disappear because they are occluded by the belly. The head is small or absent because you cannot see your own head. The arms taper to nothing because forearms foreshorten when you look down at them. These weren't fantasies or symbols. They were the most honest answer to a question no one was asking out loud. What do I look like? And the answer was, this is what I can see. This is all I know of my own body. It remains debated. The critic James Elkins called it a really strange suggestion. But no competing theory has fully explained why figurines spanning 20,000 years and thousands of miles share the same impossible proportions, proportions that happen to match the exact optical distortions of a downward gaze. And then there is Marche. This is the part nobody talks about. In 1937, a French excavator named Léon Péricard crawled into a small cave near Lussac-les-Châteaux in western France. On the floor, not the walls, the floor, he found over 1,500 limestone slabs, each etched with fine lines. When he cleaned them and studied the marks, he found something that should have rewritten art history. 155 lifelike human figures. Not stick figures, not faceless silhouettes. Faces. Individual, distinctive, recognizable human faces. Men with beards, women with defined cheekbones, people wearing what appear to be robes, hats, even boots. The engravings were dated to roughly 15,000 years ago, the Middle Magdalenian period. Péricard presented them to the French Prehistoric Society. They were met with suspicion bordering on hostility. The portraits looked too modern, too skilled, too human. Many dismissed them as fakes. The findings were buried for decades. It was not until 2002 that Dr. Michael Rappengluck at the Ludwig Maximilian University of Munich reopened the investigation and argued the carvings were authentic. He also pointed out a devastating irony. At sites like Lascaux, archaeologists in the 1950s had leveled and paved the cave floors to accommodate tourists. If portraits like Lamarck's existed at Lascaux, they were bulldozed into oblivion before anyone thought to look down. Here is the pattern. For most of human history, the answer to, "What do I look like?" came in fragments. A hand blown in ochre against stone, a downward glance at a body you could only partially see. A face carved not for yourself, but for someone else to find. Identity was not a mirror image. It was assembled from the outside in, from what your tribe told you, from the shape of your shadow on the ground, from the warped shimmer of your outline in a river that never held still long enough to show you the truth. The first manufactured mirrors appeared around 6,400 BCE. Polished obsidian discs found at Çatalhöyük in central Turkey, 8,000 years old, buried alongside the dead like something sacred. Before obsidian, before copper, before bronze and silver and glass, the only reflective surface available to a human being was water. And water lies. It moves. It darkens your skin and erases your edges. The ancient Greeks knew this. The myth of Narcissus is not a story about vanity. Read it again. It is a story about a person seeing their own face for the first time and not recognizing it. He does not know the reflection is him. He falls in love with a stranger. The horror of the myth is not self-obsession. It is the terror of meeting yourself and having no idea who you are looking at. For 200,000 years, humans built entire civilizations of meaning around a face they had never seen. They painted the animals they feared and revered with photographic care and drew themselves as afterthoughts, small, crude, laughable. They pressed their hands to walls the way a drowning person grabs a rope. They carved their bodies as their own eyes saw them, distorted, headless, a landscape of skin viewed from the watchtower of the skull. And when they finally carved faces, they etched them into floors that would be trampled and destroyed for 15,000 years before anyone thought to look. Tonight, you will pass a mirror. You will see your face instantly, effortlessly, in perfect clarity, and you will feel nothing. No awe, no terror, no sacred recognition of the stranger staring back. Your ancestors spent 100,000 years reaching for that image, in ochre, in limestone, in still water that rippled before they could memorize a single feature. You see yourself every day. They never did. And somehow, they still knew exactly who they were.